Hi, I'm Andy, aka Google Man, and today is my slightly later than planned look at Google Docs, Slides and Sheets.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
Oh, it's Google Man again. Hi again guys, and welcome back to aka Google Man. If you haven't done so already, please click subscribe down below. Really sorry I missed you earlier in this week. Some technical issues got in my way. What can I say? It happens to the best of us. Now today, I want to take a look at Google Docs, Slides and Sheets, and specifically I'm going to be looking at the 5 things that I think are best about using these programs, because a lot of us are used to using things like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and Excel, and I will admit that those are some very feature-heavy programs and they are fantastic, but for a day-to-day teacher, I truly believe that Docs, Slides and Sheets have everything that we need, and actually they can help us do even more. So let's look at my top 5 now. If that sounds interesting to you, let's dive in. Okay, so number 1 is autosave. Now, hands up, who has ever been working on a Word document or on a PowerPoint presentation, closed the program, or the battery's died on their machine and their complete progress has been lost, perhaps even hours of progress. Hands up if you've done that. Come on, I know there's more of you, okay? Everybody's done it, we all know it's been done, okay? But not anymore, not with Google Docs, Slides and Sheets, because probably the best feature of this online-based program is it will auto-save. It saves everything as you go along, and I'll talk more about how it does that later on. But it is an absolute lifesaver. It even happens if you happen to be working offline. So I spoke in my Chromebook video a little while ago about working offline. And when you do that, it will still save your progress automatically. The caveat being is that it won't sync with your Google Drive and make it live on all of your devices until you reconnect to the internet, but it will still be there for you. An absolute lifesaver. Okay, number 2 in my list of favorite things has to be version history. Okay, this kind of links a little bit to that autosave feature because it literally saves everything. So if you make some changes that you forget about, or you end up changing your mind about the kinds of things that you want to put in there, normally you'd have to kind of hunt back, maybe see if you've got a retrieval or recover file that you can go for, but that is built into Google Docs. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm going to show this in Google Docs, and this is also available in Slides and Sheets as well. If you just go to your file menu over the top here, you have the availability here. Let's head back to that bit of version history. Okay, you could actually name the current version, so you could have several versions going at the same time, all with their own names, or you can elect to see the version history. Now, when you do that, you get taken to a new screen, still in that window, and down the right-hand side, all the changes or major changes that have happened get saved in here. So every session of editing has its own version. Okay, so when you're working in sort of one day or one moment, okay, it won't do a new version of this, but every time you kind of save and close it down, that gets counted as a new session in this list here. And it is absolutely phenomenal. And as you can see, if I can scroll down, you can see all of the changes that have been made to this. It also tells you who's made that. So if you're collaborating on a document, you can see who has done what. And when you do this in Sheets, you can actually do this on a cell-by-cell basis as well. So you can get really, really precise information about who has changed what. And if you wanted to, if there's a version that you would prefer, you can go back to that. I can click on that. It will restore that version. You can look at that and see what else is new, and you can actually restore that version. So if you've made a major mistake that would require a complete rewrite of that piece of work, you can just restore that version, and it will save that then as the current one. Absolutely phenomenal feature that is unique, I feel, to Google Docs, Slides and Sheets. Okay, number 3, the ability to explore. Now, we've spoken about the power of Google before when we talked about using Chromebooks, and Google Docs and slides and sheets are no different. There are numerous times where I've been reading a document or reading a piece of work from a student, perhaps, where something's come up that I want to maybe fact check or something like that. And I've had to highlight the bit I want and copy and paste it into there. Google Docs, slides and sheets does that work for you. It brings the power of Google search engine into your documents. Down on the right-hand side of your screens, when you're using these, you have a button simply called Explore. If you click on that, you get a little sidebar appears over there and a list of topics that it has kind of like picked out from your work. And depending on the size of the document and the scope, it will pick out various things. Here you can see in this particular, this is just a script that I've written for my videos. It's picked out Google, because obviously I'm talking about Google. It's picked up Chromebooks because I mentioned that in the script, and I've mentioned Google Docs, obviously, because I'm talking about it as part of this video. If I click on Chromebook, what it then does is it actually takes me to a search results page for Google, and I can access those websites and it'll open them in a tab for me. And I could be shopping for a Chromebook, or just want some information about them. There's an Argos link, there's a Wikipedia link. It's all in there, just by a couple of clicks. So instead of having to worry about having a separate tab open, it's all there and I can see it referenced in my document. I can also have, it does an image search for me as well. So there you are, there's some pictures of Chromebooks. And if I've referenced it at all in my Google Drive, it will even have documents that are searched within my own drive that contain the word Chromebook. So if I did that, it will come up with things like, so the script for my Chromebook video is there. It's absolutely fantastic and incredibly powerful. Okay, so number 4 on my list is the ability to take questions. Now, this one is unique to Google Slides. Okay. Now, it might be that you're in a lesson, you are presenting something, and you really need to get through a set of slides in there. But at the same time, you want to allow some time, as we all should, to take questions from our students. Okay. And this is a great way of getting those questions asked. It will also potentially save you a bit of time, because instead of waiting for the questions to be asked, they're there ready for you to answer. So let's just have a quick look at this. So this is just a mock-up presentation, which actually links back to one of my old quizzes, and I'll talk about that a bit later on as well. And what I'm just going to do is start to present this Google Slides presentation. Once it comes up, as you can see, along the bottom here, I've got a little toolbar has appeared. And the bit I want to focus on here is the Q&A bit. So I'm going to click on Q&A, and it gives me a new window open. And it's also, so it hasn't minimized my presentation, but it's brought it back into a normal window. So what I'm going to do is pull that across. Now, of course, from the student perspective, they might only see that presentation, okay? But I'm just going to side by side them for my benefit now. I'll be doing a follow-up on Chromebook soon as well, so that this will actually help with this scenario here. But over on the left-hand side here, I'll have audience tools. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to start a new Q&A session. And what that does, as you see on the right here, it's now put a URL at the top of the slides. And when that's presented, that will be visible to anybody there. And obviously I can see that there as well. Now, what I'm going to do with this, I'm actually going to send a mock question to myself. So if you bear with me a second, I'm just going to actually put that address into a separate device here, and I'm going to ask myself a question. So you will be able to see that appearing on the screen in front of us. Now, like I said, I've used this before in lessons, and it's a really, really quick, easy way to get some input from students in your class, but without kind of breaking your gate, if you like, while you're doing it. So once you get access to that website through that URL, they will be told to ask a question. And I'm just going to ask a very, very silly question on here. And what should happen is, as I submit that question, it appears in my question list here. Obviously, in reality, I do know what a bridge is, but you might get some really good deep questions from your students by using this little tool here. you can then present that question to the rest of the group. So if there's a particularly good one, you can click present, and that now takes over as the main portion of the slide, which is really, really good if you want to share. Also, when they put their question in, they have the option to be anonymous as well. So if they don't want to be named, but as you can see, it has named me on there because I didn't click to ask anonymously. And you can turn on and off that question session. So perhaps you might want to give them some time to think and submit questions, and then you go through a question and answer. Okay, and fifth and final one of my favorite features has to be the ability to put add-ons into your Google Docs sheets and slides. Now, these add-ons can make it so that the features available in things like Word, which is very, very feature packed, you can't deny it, start to become available to you. And actually, you can customize your Google Docs to make it the way you want it to work. So if there are things in Word that you just don't use and don't want, you're not encumbered by them, and it becomes more streamlined for you. I'm going to focus on one today that is really good in Google Sheets, and it's one that I have and do use, which is why I want to focus on it here. And the add-on name is Flubaroo. Okay, it sounds like a funny name, but it's incredibly useful. I have a Google Sheet open here, which are the results of a quiz that I set a few videos ago, and I'll link that video above and below so that you can see it to set up your own quizzes in Google Classroom. And it's really, really good. It's done my score for me there, so I can kind of see relatively quickly how things are. But depending on the size of your class and the number of responses, you might want something to do some of the kind of legwork for you, and Flubaroo is great for this. Now, ideally in a quiz, you would have taken their names in and things like that. I haven't done that here, and I'll talk about why that is a bit of an issue as we go through. But let's just go into this now. To install a new add-on, and this is true for all of the programs, go to your add-ons menu and go to Get Add-ons. I'm not going to go into there now, but that opens up a kind of a sub-window for you, and you can search through and scroll through add-ons that you might find useful. So if there's a feature in kind of like your Microsoft or your Apple word processors or your kind of Office programs, search for the equivalent in your add-ons list there. Now, I already have Flubaroo installed on here, so I'm just going to go over and start changing a couple of things to make this viable for this particular quiz. I'm going to start off going to advanced. Now, don't be scared by the word advanced and advanced options, because actually I'm not doing anything that dangerous. Because in this menu, the only thing I'm going to change is a percentage value. Now, what Flubaroo will do is it will take a percentage value that you give it to help identify perhaps students that have struggled in this particular quiz or set of marking. So what I'm going to do is change the percentage here. Now, this would alter depending on the numbers of questions in your quiz, perhaps the grade boundaries with which you are working in, if this is set as perhaps exam-based questions. And what I'm going to do is just lower it for me to 65%. My quiz is out of 3, so 66% is 2/3. So anything under there, which kind of gives me sort of 1 out of 3, is something I really want to be able to pick up on really quickly. And this will do it at a larger scale and far faster than I would with my own 2 eyes. I'll click submit on there. So it will now apply that to its kind of like algorithm for marking the sheet. And I'll go back into add-ons, Flubaroo, and we're going to go through the process of grading this assignment. A couple of quick steps that you need to go through. Now, Flubaroo is actually quite clever. It will look at the questions that you have asked and make some assumptions about what those questions and columns are. And as you can see on here, it's taken the what is your name question and used that as a way to identify the students in the quiz. Now, in a lot of other circumstances, that would be absolutely the right thing. Okay, you would ask them their name and you would use that as a student identifier. You must have one of these that identifies the students in the group. Now, I'm going to change that the score to identify student. So in this particular instance, that's kind of okay, because the score is not really applicable for me here, because it's just been automatically added up for me. And I'm going to change the what is your name to normal grading. Okay, and then normal grading stays the same for each of those, and you can adjust the points value for each question as well. So if you are weighting them differently, you can do that. From there, you will continue on to the next, and the second stage of grading is what it now needs is a row it will use as its baseline. So ideally what you will have done is, if you've set a quiz in Google Classroom, you have taken the quiz as well, okay, even albeit very, very quickly. And what you will then do is select the correct row that will be used as kind of your baseline. Now the top row in this case is that, so I will select that top row. If you were the last one to put it in, you may need to select the bottom one, and then I'll click continue again. It will do a little bit of magic. It takes a little time, obviously, depending on the size of your quiz and the number of students, the time this takes will vary. Okay, here we go. It's doing its work, and it will come up and just say grading complete. Okay, and you can go forward. Now, one of the great things here is what it actually does is it doesn't delete your work. So I still have my form submissions tab. So if I come back over, I still have that original tab. Okay, but I've now got a grades tab on here as well. And this identifies several things. I'm just going to pull myself over to one side so I don't get in my own way. And what you can see on here is this has given me percentage values for each student in there. Anything that's less than 65%, as I've asked, so the 0% and 33 are marked as red. What this has also done is identified the two questions where performance was poorest across every student. So this will then tell me, okay, most of my students do not know what the average airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow is. Obviously, they need to go away and watch some more films, okay, and then they will get the answer, okay, and that will be incredibly helpful to those people, because it's telling me right now only 25% of the students got that one right. So either they need to go away and revise that a little bit harder, or more likely, we as teachers would then need to revisit that, put a little bit of retrieval practice in place to get that information back into their brains. And that's it. That's my Google Docs, Slides and Sheets top 5. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. I'm sure out there are people that use these programs and have found different features and different things in those programs that they find even more useful than what I've spoken about today. So please do let me know about those things. Drop a comment down below, send me an email at my school. And like I've said before, I will hopefully be doing a video where I talk about all these suggestions and ways that people work with these programs. I promise this time I will see you again on Monday for another brand new video. Until then, stay well, stay safe. Google Man out.